Now this is something I do most days, which is winding the old Guildhall clock in Aberystwyth. It was run as an 8-day clock, but in fact I have to do it every day because the weights have to fall down to a certain level. The 8 days mean that it would have been done once a week, and it would have been up the top of a tower. The Guildhall clock, I think it might, no, it's not going to, yes, it's going to strike now. And that's telling me that it's 1:45. Now it's saying it's 6:45, but in fact it's not correct. And that's one of the things I have to do, is alter the cogs here, which tell me the time. We haven't got a face. The face would have been on the outside of the tower, on the top of the Guildhall. And the Guildhall would have been at the top end of town, where the present clock is. We're in the Ceredigion Museum in Aberystwyth, which is in the old Colosseum. And this has been installed here since, I think it was about 1980 that we acquired it. And I've been winding it for about, I think, 20 years now, something like that. This has been going since 1837 as a timepiece for the town. As you can see, the pendulum is swinging back and forth. I think keeping the whole idea of time going, we have quite an extensive collection of clocks. Our first curator was a keen clock collector. I used to regularly wind about 6 of the clocks in the museum, and what was interesting was, of course, at the start of the day, I'd put them all at about 9 o'clock. And then by the end of the day, they were all slightly different. Older clocks, of course, keep time, and the cogs wear out. And the way in which the clock worked meant that it lost time or it gained time. And that was what was quite interesting, was that you could start the day, check in at 9 o'clock and finish work 1:45 or 1:15, and you'd still be correct. To alter the time, at the moment it says 7 o'clock, but I think we're nearer to lunchtime. You have to change this part of the mechanism, and by doing the top part here, I can make this hand come up to the hour, like that. So now, actually, it will only go to the half hour. Okay, this is really complicated because it's not in the right time at all. That will now strike 1/4 past. And now it'll strike the full hour. So it should strike 7 times now, which means this side of the clock will strike. There's a very nice early Welsh poem by Dafydd ap Gwilym, a very famous local Welsh poet, from I think it's the earliest poem about a clock in the whole of Europe. And it states where he was a bit of a character, and I think he was on his way home from the pub, and he falls in a ditch. And the clock, the local clock, which is up a tower, strikes. And the poem is all about how awful it is to hear the striking of the clock, because he's got a terrible headache from his hangover. And the Welsh poem is a fantastic sort of record of his feelings about what the clock is actually doing to him. I can recite the poem if you like. It's a 14th century poem, and I'll read it in Welsh. Och i'r cloc yn ochr y clawdd, di a'i friw am deffro awdd, diffyn foi ben a'i dafod, a'i ddwy raff iddo a'i rod, a'i bwysau belynau pŵl, a'i fiarthau a'i fwrthwl, a'i hwyaid yn tybiau dydd, a'i felynau aflonydd, cloc anfwyl ma'n clec unfyd, cobler brisg, cabler a'i bryd. Mynachglaps mewn mynachglos, melyn wyllt yn malu nos, a fi sadler crwper crach neu deilen anwyladarch, oer ddialer ar ei ddolef. The other thing about the Colosseum, of course, is that it was a theatre and a cinema. And we still today have events happening here. And quite often the cloc dominates the whole situation, and so it has to be stopped while there's a film on or a performance, and the pendulum has to stand still.